Look around you. Take a good look.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. It is I, Captain Logan, and joining me as always is my wonderful chat moderator and producer, DJ Martinez. Good evening, DJ.
Evening.
How are things, sir?
I'm good. Things are good.
Yeah? Or have you recovered from the insanity of Tuesday?
Oh yeah, man. I recovered about 10 minutes into that commentary because I was having a blast with you. So.
Oh yeah. Well, no, that's true. I got relaxed very quickly, but boy, that first hour that nobody else saw was real touch and go. Those of you that were with us that night, you got to hang out with us for 2.5 hours, but it actually took us 3.5 hours to make that show happen from start to finish. Yeah, it was like my whole studio was just falling apart on me. It was terrible. I had a monitor that went out on me right before the show started. I finally figured out for sure that that's what happened, DJ.
Okay.
And I don't understand how that happens. It's like the monitor itself shorted out because I restarted my computer. Doesn't really make a lot of sense, but we were I was having an issue with Skype. It went inside baseball real quick. I was having an issue with Skype. It wouldn't start up. It just came up as a black box. And I was like, well, nobody's going to want to watch me in a black box. I should probably get DJ in here, right? And so I'm in a hurry. So I cold started. And when I turned my production machine back on, I had three monitors, or I had only 3 monitors. You might think, only 3? That should be easy, Cap. Surely you can do a show with 3. But because of the way I have everything set up and where my camera is for the live shows and everything, I'd have to rearrange the universe to only work with 3 monitors. And those of you that were there that night will know I also couldn't look at comments very readily. I had to pull them up on my phone because I didn't have a place for them. Because DJ commands an entire screen. Like, I have to have one screen just designated for DJ because of the way we have OBS set up. And then the other one I needed for something I don't usually use it for. And so, anyway, long story short, I spent, as a lot of you guys know, like a lot of time trying to figure it out. And that wasn't the only thing. I was having audio issues too, which is why it took as long as it did. And then, after the show, I went back and looked at it, and I was worried that the HDMI port in the back of my machine was shorted out and messed up, and that I wouldn't be able to go out to 4 monitors anymore. And so I tried a couple of other monitors and TVs and things in there, and I'm now working with a different one, and it turns out that monitor just won't turn on. And how does that happen, DJ? Just because you restarted a machine? Like, it was fine, and then it was done.
I have no idea. Was it a relatively new monitor?
No, it's one I've been using for a long time. But it's just weird the way it crapped out, and it's not like there's still the light on the front of it still comes on, but there's no picture. It just won't come up. But then what was weird is it's not just that there's no picture. The computer didn't recognize the monitor. Like it wasn't connecting. So I don't know what that was about. It was very strange. But anyway,
you might be able to get a new cable for it. It might just be the cable. It's not connecting them. Anyway.
Yeah, so I have no idea. It was very strange, but that was an odd night, and I'm glad that the commentary turned out as well as it seemed to have. We had a great time. DJ, you always kind of relax me in situations like that. I'll get real kind of flustered, and oh, that's right. I'm working with the most even keel person on the planet. Helps out a lot. So
that's usually kind of annoying for people when they're flustered, and I'm just like super chill, and they're like, "Why can't you get frustrated?"
No, I mean, I really appreciate it. It kind of helps to settle my nerves a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, I am not being hyperbolic, you guys, when I say that DJ is just the best person to work with. He makes everything better all the time, and I'm so glad that I've got you doing Morphin that too. But Marvel Mania with me in lieu of Eric. Obviously, I wish Eric could still hang out with us and maybe even do a thing where it was the 3 of us, but he's not got the time. People keep asking me about that. Look, guys, I'm sorry, okay? I don't have any control over Eric. He's not going to be there on that show, but DJ is doing a wonderful job, and if you've not taken a look at the Logan commentary because there's no Eric, give it a shot, would you? Because DJ is wonderful, and I don't want to say he's just a decent stand-in or a decent replacement. It's a different thing with DJ, but I think it's an equally cool thing. So, anyway, check it out if you will. I want to do that quick plug. Although there's no reason to, because DJ is doing it for me. Because
I'm just to advertise.
I'm just imagining you've not changed clothes in 48 hours.
Yeah, I threw it on. I don't know if there's anyone who watches this show that doesn't watch that show, but on the off chance, go check it out.
But anyway, so DJ, are you getting comments? Are there people commenting live right now?
Oh yeah.
Oh, weird, because on my screen it looks like nobody said anything in like 10 minutes, so I don't know what's going on. Hopefully I'm able to look at it again. There we go. Yeah, it just
no. I got Edward Better saying General Zod playing Pokemon. I will find them.
I will find them. General Zod has got to catch them all. It was really weird that he was genetically engineered to only catch Pokemon, but that was his place in the system. That's from in the Codex. There's a thing that says catch Pokemon, and that's what the general was for.
Sorry, could you hear that? There's like planes going by over my house for some reason. That was really loud.
Man, just nothing surprises me anymore. I'm expecting meteors and like dinosaurs and dogs and cats living
meteors
together.
And dinosaurs, they don't work well together.
No, that's true. Yeah, I was trying to think of like random unrelated things, but then I just wound up in prehistory, apparently. Everybody, thanks a lot for just tuning in tonight. If you're watching live, the Captain Logan Show, thanks for watching afterwards. If you're doing that instead, it is, as you see on your screen there, an Ask Me Anything show, question or exclamation point. We're not going to have any kind of lead-in stories or anything tonight. We're just going to jump right into whatever you guys would like us to chat about. There's not any super chat goals or anything like that. We're just going to hang out with you for an hour or a little bit longer if there's a lot going on, and the show is yours, you guys. I know my name is in the title, but the show is for all intents and purposes yours. So if it sucks, it's on you guys. I blame you. No, I'm kidding. So, if you want to, as always, make certain that your question or comment or topic gets discussed on air with any amount of depth and consideration, you can leave a super chat in any dollar amount, and we will make sure, and we promise always to tackle every one of those, whether we have anything to say about them or not. And we will also do as many pre-written questions as humanly possible as well. So if you don't want to or can't help us out monetarily, that is totally fine. We appreciate you just being here, and we really appreciate you trying to be involved in any way if you are so inclined. So leave your questions and comments, and we will tackle as many as we can. As I always say, we are 85-90% funded now by the audience, so those of you that are able to do that, we really appreciate it. It helps me make a career at this, and just keep stuff going here. But again, it's awesome for you guys just hanging out with us. It still floors me that anybody gives a crap about anything I have to say, so thanks a bunch for being here. Let's get right into it. DJ, what are we talking about tonight, man? I came with no plans.
Well, this is a simple one for you. Ace versus Knight. Any news on new episodes of Ultimate Spider-Man? Really miss Eric.
Yes. There is news, but it's secret. And I can't.
Secret news.
No, the secret of the news. Evolution 2, the secret of the news. No, you know what? I wasn't going to do this tonight, but since you're prying, I guess I'll go ahead and make this public information. I guess there's no good reason not to. I was going to surprise everybody with this, but it would be really weird if I was like, nah, I'm not going to say anything, and then like 3 or 4 days later you started seeing it. DJ and I are not going to be broadcasting next week. We're going to take Tuesday and Thursday and work on some other projects. And in the interim, so we're just going to take a week off from live shows. We've been doing a bunch of these lately. It's always nice to get to kind of get refreshed and come back fresh. And I figured that because we have so much of those in the queue and I haven't posted them, we would finally, and I've been threatening this forever, make next week Ultimate Spider-Man week, and I'm going to post one a day, assuming I can get them edited that fast, because I need to take the time to get each of them edited, and we'll do enough for the week. I think I have as many as 8 or 9 in the queue right now, but we'll try to post at least 6 or 7 starting on Monday, and so that'll be all next week. The Ultimate Spider-Man videos that I've been making but not posting with Eric. The first couple of them are back at the old house. That's how long it's been. So you'll get to see me with the remnants of my purple hair, and then by about Wednesday things will start to look kind of normal again. So you'll get to see Eric Eric and I aging throughout the process through the week. But anyway, so that is what is going on next week. I wasn't going to announce that, but I figure there's no reason not to. Maybe those will more people will pop in and take a look if they're kind of waiting for them. But yeah, so that should start on Monday, and everybody bear with me in case I have any issues with the editing process with those, because I mean I've saved all the footage back, but I've not looked at it, so should be good. But that's the plan at the moment. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, these people get to get a little sneak peek at what's coming. I'm sure the other people will still be surprised. William Parcell.
That's a good point. It's not like everybody watches this show.
We wish they did. Tell your friends.
Tell your friends.
William Parcell.
In the words of Dr. Horrible, tell your friends.
At what point do you think Gordon and Alfred would stop supporting Batman? In the DCEU, he was basically Rich Punisher, but they still supported him. I'm
sorry, I was distracted by comments that I'm debating with myself about whether or not I want to respond to. I'm gonna get myself in trouble tonight. I'm sorry. What was that again?
Well, there's a super chat related to that stuff.
Oh, good. Okay, cool. All right, sweet.
At what point do you think Gordon and Alfred would stop supporting Batman? In the DCEU, he was basically Rich Punisher, but they still supported him.
That's a really good question. Yeah, as I always say with Batman, because there's 100 different ways to do Batman in valid ways, I think. It really depends on the version we're talking about and the versions of those characters too. But generally speaking, and we've seen also a lot of kind of Elseworlds things and images of alternate futures and stuff where this has happened with really both of those characters. I mean, I guess the answer for Alfred is Dark Knight Rises. There's an Alfred that stopped supporting Batman. It happens in places, and then Gordon, you have that drink sequence episode with Batgirl in the season 4 stuff, where the New Adventures stuff, where Gordon finds out that Batgirl is his daughter and she dies and he blames Batman. And I realize that's a drink sequence that Barbara Gordon is having, but were that to happen without them ever having a conversation or even the kind of wink nod they have at the end of that episode of I know that you're Batgirl, but I'm not going to say it, just like with Batman. That honestly may be what would happen with that character. So, I mean, I think it would have to be something really personal like that. I think that that Bruce Wayne would have to do something massively out of character. At the point where Bruce Wayne starts using guns and is no longer on the side of the law, he's always crossing it to some degree. But at the point where where you can't make a case anymore for Batman is making Gotham a better place. That's certainly when Alfred leaves, and I think with Alfred, when Gordon leaves. With Alfred, it can be more complicated maybe, where it's more of a personal thing. I think the version in the Nolan movies, and this is not really the reason that he left in Rises, and I've always felt kind of weird about that choice, but that version also might have left if he had taken the smearing of Thomas Wayne's name too far. And I mean, he starts to really push that at the end of Batman Begins, where it's it's not just your name, it's your father's name, and it's all that's left of him. Don't destroy it. And Bruce basically just continues on in the same direction that he was going when he acts like a drunken fool in his father's house, and that friend or business partner or whoever it was says, or no, it was a board member, the apple has fallen very far from the tree, Mr. Wayne, and then at the end of the movie, drunken billionaire burns down house. He's he's on the board now, and at least the directors and the people at Wayne Enterprises are appreciating him more, but the public at large still probably thinks that he's ruining his father's name. I could see that being I'm digressing. I could see that being a problem. Now I'm just going down memory lane with Batman Begins. But I can see that kind of thing being a big problem with Alfred, where he's going too far with the mask of Bruce Wayne. So yeah, violence in certain cases, and also reputation in other cases, I guess, is my answer to that. That's a great question.
Cool. Well, we got another one. William Parcell dropped 2 at the very beginning.
Thanks so much, man. What's up?
Yeah, if the Marvel Registration Act was passed in the DC universe, and it was a well-written story, Who do you think would oppose it, and who wouldn't oppose it? I think he means, but
wow, that's not as clean cut as, well, it's not as clean cut as the way Marvel did it either, is it? Because they and you're talking about the Superhero Registration Act with Civil War, right? Where in Marvel they felt the need to kind of write Iron Man dramatically out of character in order to have like two diametrically opposed sides. I still think you could have written Iron Man as being on that totally other side, where he believed in the act and Captain America didn't, because we made a movie where that works. But with DC, boy, that's tough, man. I have a hard time imagining most of the Justice League would even be for that, right? And I feel like with Superman, it's a total crapshoot, man. That just depends on who's writing that character at the time. Because Superman doesn't like that, very often, until he, kind of understands the motivations more, I guess, that Batman works with the methods that he does, and that he crosses certain lines, and that he's, not towing the letter of the law, and that he keeps himself a secret. On the other hand, so you could maybe see that being the two sides, right? Like, obviously, Batman's not gonna sign. Batman very often doesn't even want to be in the Justice League. He doesn't work well with people. He likes to keep lists of people's weaknesses, of superheroes' weaknesses, so that he can take them down if something happens to them. This is the reason that it's easy to see a future where Batman becomes fascist, right? Because he is kind of, whether he wants to believe it or not, always wanting to be in control, and he basically is like lording over everyone, but just won't admit that to himself. Sometimes, anyway, is the way that character can be portrayed. So obviously, there's no version of Batman, with the possible exception of Adam West, that's going to sign off on the Superhero Registration Act. But Superman is also all for freedom and for having the carte blanche to do the right thing, regardless of arbitrary legality and stuff. And we often look at Superman and Captain America as having almost the same value set. And Captain America's on the other side in the Marvel Superhero Registration Act. So I would think that this would be a situation where, for somewhat different reasons, Batman and Superman would be very much on the same side. I wouldn't think Wonder Woman would necessarily sign off on that either, but then there's also a whole lot of different, variations of her. So, DJ, can you think of anybody in DC that, especially like major superheroes, but like, can you think of anybody in DC who immediately you're like, well, yes, of course, they're going to be signing off on that, and they're going to be all for, government-run superheroes?
No. That's hard.
Right? I mean, if it was anybody, like maybe Wonder Woman, I guess she's the easiest that I could see, but it's just got to be the right version of that character.
Jedi Knight says Hawkman would be pro.
Yeah, maybe. That's not a character I've ever gotten a real great handle on worldview and ideologically, though. And I've also seen him written a lot of different ways. Two
people said Captain Atom, Errol Ace, and Edward Bedder.
Yeah, I'm with you, Professor Zoom. Not Green Arrow. Maybe Barry Allen. Probably not Wally West. I don't know. Like, this is difficult. Barry Allen, I guess I could see maybe more than some of these other characters. But I guess I'm not even 100% sure why I'm saying that. It's just gut response. I don't know. Is part of the problem that traditionally these characters are like larger than life? We always talk about this, that they're like beacons of hope, and they're not the kind of down to earth flawed characters that we have in Marvel. I mean, we've seen Marvel-esque versions of a lot of these characters at this point, but just like, I'm just thinking of the most pure version of them. Like, they don't need the government because you don't have to worry that they're gonna do anything wrong. So it's hard to imagine that any of them would be like, yeah, let's sign with the government and have them run us. Why would they even think they would need that? Daniel Davis, Aquaman, would absolutely oppose it. Well, yeah, because he's not going to be under the thumb of some other government. That's a spectacular question. I've never thought of that before. Now, I think you can write a version of DC where you could make me buy that this half goes here and this half goes here, but I think it's almost completely arbitrary, and you almost certain characters that I could never see doing that if they're true to the spirit of those characters. But a lot of the more minor, like not top 3 DC characters, I think you would just have to kind of reestablish their worldview at the beginning and then make a case for it.
Yeah.
But I think that's an impossible to answer question. You have completely stumped me with that. I don't know. I guess my answer is I'm not imagining it happening with much of anybody.
You stumped him, William. Good job. You win. Next up's TH1.
John Henry is identity crisis being used as a gauge for this. That's interesting. That's about a different kind of situation, of course. That's more like is it okay to keep secrets from? I mean, it's more that thing I was talking about earlier. Like with Batman, sometimes having a list of people's weaknesses, where it's like is it okay to keep something from the people that you're working with? And that's a little bit different than the registration question, but I think you could probably, I see what you're saying. You could maybe make a case for certain characters being for it and certain against it based on, like whether they're more utilitarian or whether they're more, kind of value ethics or ends justifies the means or whatever. The Green Arrow from that story, I think maybe I could see the case for he actually does go for registration, but I don't like the way Green Arrow is handled in that book, so...
This is TH1. Hello, Tom. I fell asleep while watching Superman Man of Tomorrow last night. I liked what I saw. Have you seen it yet? And is there an ETA on its review? You're awesome.
I didn't know it was out yet, so I'm going to assume that it's not been put on DVD and Blu-ray yet. I always wait until those are out hard copy. There is another direct-to-video movie that was kind of a sleeper thing that I didn't even know about that I just bought, but I haven't had a chance to sit down and watch yet. They put out a Deathstroke animated movie, DJ. I didn't even know about that.
Oh, wow.
And Eric and I are working on other stuff, so I think that might be the first one that he and I actually don't end up reviewing together. Especially because when I told him about it, his response was, "Why?" So he doesn't seem to be all that interested in seeing that. So I don't even know if a review with him will happen. But I will. I'll wait 2 or 3 weeks, and if he doesn't have any interest in it, I'll just go ahead and shoot something, or watch something, and shoot something real quick. So you guys will know if I think it's worth picking up.
Superman Man. Wow, Alexandra Daddario is playing Lois Lane. That's cool. I didn't know she did voice work.
Who's that?
I don't know what you would know her from. True Detective. Anyway.
Tom says it dropped Tuesday. That's funny. I think I went and bought that and some other movies and things like Sunday or Monday, just like right before that happened. Okay, well, guys, it's going to be at least a couple of weeks because we're getting back to Ultimate Spider-Man next week, the recordings that Eric and I are doing, and he's really excited about the next one that we're doing, so he's not going to want to put that off a week. So it'll be the week after, or even the week after that, just depending on his schedule probably. So everybody bear with us on that, and if I have to break ranks and do it on my own, I will, but he and I have done almost every one of those for 10 years, so...
Yeah, it's probably the most depressing series of videos you've done because you guys get less and less enthusiastic, everyone.
Yeah, but it looks like they've maybe switched creative teams, so that trend could end finally. Maybe they start getting great,
cool.
Who knows?
There's hope.
Yeah, there's hope.
Bag Studios, thoughts on the new Oscar inclusion requirements? I didn't even hear about this.
Okay, so I don't want to talk too much about this because all I've seen is the headline. My wife mentioned it to me last night. She saw that there's a headline that in 2024 movies can't be nominated for Best Picture, and I don't know if there's other awards too. I just know at least Best Picture unless they meet 2 out of 4 inclusion requirements. And I don't know what the list is. I'm assuming one is women, and I'm assuming the other is people of color, but I don't know if there's a certain number of that you have to have in your movie. I saw somebody earlier saying that, and again, I don't want to talk too much about this because I haven't looked into what the actual requirements are. So I'm admitting that I'm not fully informed on this. It didn't occur to me that this might come up tonight. I guess it should have. But my wife showed it to me while we were watching Star Trek last night, and I was like, oh, that sounds weird, and then we moved on. I didn't look into it. Somebody earlier in the comments, I don't know who it was, I'd have to scroll up, suggested that it's silly that people are complaining about that, because in our modern day, surely people shouldn't have a problem with wanting things to be more inclusive, and of course most movies are going to be made that way anyway. My rebuttal to that is... and this is where I'm going to get myself into trouble, but I feel I need to talk about it. I get what you're saying to some degree, but I think that there are exceptions to that, and I just don't think everything needs to be about ethnic and gender diversity. I don't think that that should be the be-all, end-all about what makes art good. It bugs me that so many things have come out that I think are just horribly written or don't make a lot of sense or are kind of just watched like propaganda and not a real story, but people herald them as wonderful because they have the right message or there's a good mix of different kinds of people in them. I'm not saying that I don't want to see like talented people of every persuasion of life getting work in things. Of course I do. And it's wonderful that we're seeing a lot more female directors, and it's wonderful that we're seeing a lot more people of every kind of persuasion being able to break into this industry and not having to necessarily worry so much that they can't get a job just because they're not the right they're the right color and they're not the right gender. However, so two big things, and again, this is where I'm going to get myself into trouble, but I'm just speaking my mind. So two big things. Writers write what they know. So just because you write a story that mostly has white guys in it, or if you're female white women in it, or if you're a black person, only black people in it, it's the world you know. Sometimes people don't want to try to like force in a bunch of other kinds of people into a thing just because they want to look diverse. They want to look like they're pushing the right the right agenda or whatever, because it's not going to come off authentic. And much worse than not having things with a lot of diversity are, I think, forcing that and doing it disingenuinely. I think that's much, much worse. So you want a world where a lot of different people can tell a lot of different kinds of stories. So I think it's more important to have people behind the camera of a lot of different persuasions and then let them cast who they need to cast for their stories. So and then the second big thing is, I guess what I'm saying is with that first thing, if we can, and this is difficult to be sure about, but if we can be sure that we don't actually have a lot of cases of discrimination in the workplace when it comes to movie making, there should be room for every kind of art. That's how art works. If everything that comes out, if 8 out of 10 of every movie looks the same, that's maybe a problem. I get that. Forcing it is not the way to fix that problem. It's about gradually getting different kinds of people making things, and then they tell the stories that they want to tell. The second thing is, if you want to tell certain kinds of period pieces or even stories about certain parts of the world, it's just going to be hard to force in whatever number of women or Hispanic people or whatever it is that the Oscars are telling us now we have to have, because again, I don't know what all the requirements are, because it may not make sense for that story. It may be disingenuous. So now I wonder, how many filmmakers are really going to think too much about the Oscars when they make stuff, because I mean, let's face it, a lot of people don't watch the Oscars anymore, and I don't know, I guess it's still a big deal for a director to win an Oscar, but I can't say for sure how many directors are going to come in and go, well, I'm going to avoid telling this story, or I'm going to avoid telling it the way I want to, because I'm being forced in a box and saying I can't even be considered for awards unless I put these things in it. I don't think that's fair, and I don't think that's the way to solve that problem. And I know people are going to disagree with me, but this is how I feel about it.
I don't know if this is true or not, but Ariel Ace says it's mainly crew, not cast. which makes more sense.
That makes more sense. Yeah. But if you're if there's not at least 3 black people in your movie and you're making a film about Nazi Germany, it just doesn't make sense. Well, how are you going to force that in?
I have a question.
So I'm hoping that's not what it is. And like I said, I don't mean to talk from ignorance, but somebody asked the question and I've not done the research yet.
Yeah, and I don't know anything about it either, but I'm assuming it's just American-made films, right? Because foreign films are a part of the Oscars, and one of them won Best Picture last year, and it was all Korean people, obviously, because it was a Korean movie. So that can't be. It has to be just American-made.
Well, and you notice that when people talk about American or like movies not being diverse enough and stuff, nobody's concerned about foreign films. And nobody's worried about movies that are like a whole cast of anything but white people. And I guess I sort of understand that, because it's like, well, Hollywood had a big long history of avoiding putting certain kinds of people on screen. But there is a part of me that has always felt weird about that, where it's like, well, I guess it's impossible to be consistent about that, or at least know what words mean. You know what I mean? Sometimes we say diversity when what we really mean is just not what we've always had. Like a film of like all Asian people or all black people is also not a diverse film. I guess you just mean that it's diverse in that there's other movies that are all of something else instead of just white people. But when people say that, it's almost like diversity now just means not a particular race and gender. That's not what that word means. So I don't know. I think we oversimplify this issue a lot. And and I think that has the potential to damage us just as much as the problem we're trying to solve. That's how I feel about it.
Cool. Yeah, I need to look more into that. I didn't even know that happened until now. So thanks, Back Studios.
Yeah, and I also want to thank all the subscribers that we just lost for being with us for as long as you guys were here. Thanks so very much.
Come back, check out more from Mania.
Connor Nielsen, one of the categories is about the marketing team. Good luck to the independent films who sell their films to distributors at festivals. Yeah, that's a terrific point.
Oh, weird.
And see,
okay, I really gotta look that up.
So let me say this real quick too, since I've already dug myself into this hole. Why not? So I think that there's a difference between not discriminating against people and like cherry picking, so it's like, if all you have access to in some like little podunk southern town or something is white people, it's not your fault that there's not any black people in your movie, right? This very rarely happens, but occasionally we'll have somebody complain on the channel that we're not diverse enough, that it's just a bunch of white guys. And I just go with whatever I've got access to. Like, if I talk to more people of other persuasions that I thought were a good fit for the channel, obviously I'd have different people on. And this is not me saying some of my best friends are black, but like I've had other folks that aren't just white guys on the channel before, but and I'm not going to single anybody out, because that would be awkward for them. But I'm just saying that like a lot of us don't do it on purpose. It's just like some of it's demographics, some of it's just where you are and what you have access to and stuff, And so to Connor's point, I feel like it almost ends up being discrimination accidentally the other way, where it's like we have to go out of our way now to get people that aren't just white guys or whatever, and we're actually discriminating now against the people, potentially, who are right for those positions, just to get somebody that looks a certain way. Isn't that also discrimination, right? Am I off on an island by myself here? Like,
are you talking to me or the viewer?
No, I'm talking to you. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm the comments are flooding and I'm trying to keep up with the chat. So you're resonating with the audience.
Okay, well that's cool, and I mean it's fine if I'm not. But I'm asking you, DJ, am I right about that? It's like passing up the guy who's right for the job because he is white and male, because you have this arbitrary rule that says you have to have a certain number of people that aren't. Isn't that also a form of discrimination? But we're not going to call that discrimination.
Yeah, and I would see it. I see it more in like a public business or a place of work. This is just channel. This is just you hanging out. It's not like you're hiring us. And it's not like you're not hiring specific people. It's just like you just the people that you gravitate towards that you just talk about like your friends. I don't know.
Sure,
it seems
for
weird to
me,
complain about on this channel.
But what about with a movie though? What about if you're like Podunk, Iowa, and like 95% of your population there is white, and there's just not any women that are interested. But then you have to go find a person who may not be as talented as the guy you want. I don't understand that. It seems wrong to me.
Yeah, I don't know. People are saying Tali says you're doing a good job, Cap.
Oh, well, thanks. Well, I mean, this is not me just, like, looking for praise, like, or looking for validation. I'm just curious to know if I'm a crazy person, because a lot of people seem to be in agreement on this, and I don't understand it.
The Psycho reviewer just says the Simpsons movie isn't diverse enough.
Oh, yeah, they've got too many yellow-faced people.
Oh, man.
Right. Solar Dragon says a lot of us aren't white. Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, a lot of the audience isn't, sure. Which is really nice of you guys, by the way, to pop in and hang out with us, pasty white face guys. So anyway, DJ, what else you got, man?
Hey, speak for yourself. Call me pasty. John Ty, why?
Dolly, Midwest in panels isn't diverse. No, that's true. We had 4 white guys in a car going across the country. And guess what? Every single one of those comic shops was owned by a white guy or by a husband and wife team that were white people. We didn't find any black or Asian or store owners.
It's called Midwest in panels.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Yeah, if we did inner cities in panels, it'd be a totally different thing, And then I would stand out like a sore thumb, and that would have been either fun or dangerous, or possibly both. But
next summer, inner city in panels.
Oh yeah, Solar Dragon, I'm with you. I love listening to Morgan Freeman talk about race, or refusing to, as the case may be. Anyway, what else you got, DJ?
John Ty, why does the mutants from Marvel get hate than any other heroes from Marvel? Oh, we've talked about this.
James 123 Spawnier was pretty diverse in that it had Spawn in it. Because Spawn's a black guy. Anyway, that's the joke there. And jokes are always funnier when you explain them. So, why are mutant heroes hated? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Why do mutants in Marvel get more hate than any other heroes? That age-old question that comes up.
Is that an age-old question?
Yeah, you've talked about it lots of times where it's like the X-Men, the mutant part of the universe kind of seems like it's in a separate universe than the rest of the Marvel universe, because everyone accepts all the other superheroes, even though they don't know that they got their powers differently than the mutants.
Oh, see, that was never my point when I said that, though. I don't think of that as people hating mutants more. I think of it as 2 separate story concepts, where it's like, sometimes it feels like the mutants exist in Marvel, and sometimes it feels like we've completely forgotten about them, that they're in like 2 separate universes, because you have a lot of books where just the mutant issue never comes up, and you'd think it'd be, I mean, obviously, like the racial issues in real life that it is it's a metaphor for. You'd think that you'd see it everywhere. That's what I always meant with that, is that they almost don't feel like they're set in the same universe some of the time. But yeah, I don't know. I don't even totally know if I agree with you. Like when you say mutant heroes are hated more, do you mean in universe, or do you mean by fans? Like more fans don't like mutant heroes. If we're talking about in the universe, I think.
Yeah, I think it's talking about in the Marvel universe.
Well, I mean, and this is why I wasn't totally understanding this question. Like in X-Men stories, the answer is the premise of X-Men, that we hate and fear them because we don't understand them. So more people hate them because they don't see them as real heroes. They see them as crusaders for a cause that they either don't agree with, or they don't trust them because they think they act like terrorists or something. So I mean, yeah. I think the answer to that question is just baked into the concept.
Here's another hate question. 5590 ERS.
Oh, good.
Why is Iron Man 3 so disliked?
We're gonna have to put that in the title. Is this just the hate episode? Captain Logan Show. Hate. Iron Man 3 is largely disliked for, I think, a couple of big reasons. Obviously, one of them is the Mandarin, because a lot of folks felt like they were cheated by that trailer. I think if we didn't know who the villain was of that movie, a lot of people that hated that wouldn't have had any problem with it when they walked in. I don't think it was necessarily even a lot of Mandarin fans, because Eric always points out, and I don't know Iron Man anything like as well as Eric does, but Eric always points out that Mandarin gets reinvented all the time. He's one of those villains that there's not really necessarily a definitive version of. You might have your favorite version of that character, but he changes a lot. And so one variation is maybe as valid as another, and Eric, being a big giant Iron Man fan, didn't mind how the Mandarin was handled within the film at all. But, and I don't want to speak for Eric, but I did understand why people were upset by that revelation. Spoiler alert for Iron Man 3 from a movie that came out almost 10 years ago, that it was sold kind of like Dark Knight Rises, and I think partly because of Dark Knight Rises, on a really scary terrorist villain that was going to be this big menacing threat. And then when you get in there, they kind of turn him into a joke, and Killian is actually kind of the real villain, and it doesn't, and it ends up being about a lot of different things, and than we thought it was when it was just, you know, the terrorism thing. And it doesn't matter that at the end of the movie, Killian says, "I am the Mandarin." That's not good enough for those folks. They feel like they were sold a bill of goods, and that they were kind of duped. And I think a lot of the problem was in the advertising for those folks more than maybe even the movie itself. And I think the other thing is, and sometimes it ends up being a taste issue. And I'm not saying everybody would have loved it if only they had advertised it differently. I'm just saying that I think that made it worse for a lot of people. And I stand by what I said a minute ago. I do think that some people would have not minded it as much because they wouldn't have been already invested in what they thought was going to be this really exciting, menacing, Bane-esque character, and a year after Dark Knight Rises. And I think maybe some people were even hoping for a better Bane than Bane, because when you get to the end of Dark Knight Rises, suddenly he doesn't really have motivations of his own, and he is more or less a thug for somebody else. And you may still think that Bane is more interesting in that movie than ultimately I thought he was once we knew everything that was going on, but he is working for somebody else. And so I think a lot of people were kind of upset that once again, we've got a big menacing bad guy who turns out to be working for somebody else. And then the other thing is, I think some people just don't care for Shane Black's style, and didn't necessarily want an Iron Man that was like a throwback spy thriller thing. Like, I think it just wasn't what people signed up for. And it took me several viewings and writing about it before I came to like it as much as I do. Or I guess I have an appreciation and respect for that movie before I have a love for it. Like, it's not a thing I love going back to, but I did find a lot to sink my teeth into when I was writing about it. So, I mean, I think ultimately for me, it was a really good intellectual exercise at the very least. But yeah, so there's a couple of reasons. Yes, Ariel Ace, the kid was an Endgame. That's the unrecognizable young dude standing at the funeral at the end, where I'm like, oh, he doesn't look anything like he did. It's like 8 years later. He's grown up.
Carl Maxey.
That is an airplane. I hear one now.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. We don't live anywhere near an airport. Like,
yeah, why are they all landing around? You might want to peek your head outside and find out if you're being attacked right now. I don't know. Is there a war outside your door? What is happening? Suddenly, it sounds like that Beatles song, "Back in the USSR." That constant plane sound effect. It really gets on my nerves, by the way.
Carl Maxey, what are your thoughts about the Batman TAS episode called Lockup with the crazy guard who abused the villains?
Oh, yeah. Lockup is... What was the beginning of that question?
What are your thoughts?
What are your thoughts? Just on that villain? Just on that as a villain?
Episode.
Oh, that episode. Okay.
Episode.
That was the part I missed. Yeah, I was going to say, because I've never really seen him in anything else, just that Batman episode. I haven't seen that in a long time. So, I mean, I can't really give you a review of it at the moment. It's probably been 7 or 8 years since I saw that. But I remember thinking that it was decent. It's fun to tackle madness in every avenue. of life, especially in law enforcement. So, we get, like, very often in Batman, we'll get the insane owner of an asylum, and you'll get, crazy mayors and stuff. So it's just a matter of time that you'd have somebody like Lockup who's losing his mind because he has to be around crazy people all the time, being a guard at a prison. So it's a good idea, but it's also in a way kind of an obvious idea. It feels almost inevitable that a Batman villain would end up being that guy. Oh, Pavel Gulen, which is the name I don't recognize, welcome, says Lockup is in No Man's Land. I vaguely remember that now that you say it, but I had forgotten about that. Yeah, isn't he in like an issue or like one or two? I forget. And I think in one of the really poorly drawn issues too, if memory serves. But I don't remember what we did with him there.
Elijah Wilcott, Cap, would you like to see DC adapt non-DCU based, like Wildstorm, stories into direct-to-DVD animated films? I'd love them to do The Authority.
Man, I'm not opposed to it, certainly. It's gotta be a creative team that is really passionate about those characters and isn't, insanely compromising, of course. Like, I think the difficulty with something like, and I don't know a lot of those properties, but I think the difficulty with something like The Authority might be, and The Authority I know next to nothing about, but you have the potential of those origin films that never go anywhere, right? Like, can you get enough accomplished in your 80 minutes? And I don't know. Or do we want to see more of those kind of two movies that are basically one movie just so that we can get past that whole 75-80 minute thing? I would much rather with some of that kind of stuff, especially going to some Vertigo stuff, just because the stories are so much more involved and tend to be ongoing. More serialized. I'd like to see but when I say serialized, more tightly serialized, right? Where like some of that stuff does actually sort of have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So I think it would be cool if we did some of that stuff in more as miniseries. And DC Universe would have been the place to put that if we were still making original content for that. But HBO Max might be the place to do it now. So if you did something like I don't know, iVampire or something. I think miniseries would be better than those direct-to-video things, but that is my 2 cents on that.
Sticking with Batman 5590 ERS,
yeah.
Have you read the Batman Black and White comics?
No, I haven't. I know what you're talking about, or have I read some of that? I don't remember. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't. I remember the covers; they look cool, but no, I haven't spent any time with those that I'm recalling.
Cool. Well, the covers is half the reason to get into the comics, so.
Or at least
John Ty, at least
yeah.
Yeah, at least when we were kids, that's what it was. John Ty.
That's right.
Thoughts on the new Dune trailer? Back to Dune. Cap's favorite.
Well, okay, so I want to be excited about that because I love that director. I forget his name; it never sticks with me. But he, of course, did Blade Runner 2049. He is the guy for this. I think visually it looks surprisingly quite a bit like 2049. I don't mean to say that it's not stylized enough, or I mean, obviously that was really stylized, but that like it might not seem to go its own way when I sit down and watch it. But like his visual style is very much present there, and he's not trying to make it look entirely different than anything we've seen before. It seems like for science fiction he has kind of a style, which looks like it's really going to be well served for that material. I'm excited about some casting with that. Batista's liable to get a larger role. I don't know those characters because I've never been able to get into Dune, and I'm going to try to force myself to finally read that first book before that movie comes out, because I'm sure I'll appreciate that movie more if I do. But as I've said 100 times, I just have a hard time getting into the prose. And people think I'm crazy being a science fiction fan and not having ever read Dune. I just can't get into it. I have fallen asleep 9 times trying to watch the original movie. I cannot get through that. I'm not alone. A lot of people hate that movie. It's been reappraised. A lot more people like it now than they did back in the day. But I mean, like, when it came out, I think it won some bad movie awards and stuff. Like, there's people who really don't like that movie. I don't know if I'm right about that, but I know that it was not critically loved across the board or anything. My wife is a giant Dune fan, and I'm going to show her the trailer right after this because she hasn't had a chance to see it before, but she's stoked that they're making something with that kind of budget. But she didn't see 2049 because she's still never seen Blade Runner. She wants to, we just haven't gotten to it, and so she has no idea what she's getting herself into with that director. I think she'll be blown away by that. But the scale of it looks wonderful, and it looks more accessible than the other Dune projects that we've had before. So I mean, I think people are more likely to be able to sink their teeth into that. Just with what the style of the writing sounds like and stuff. It doesn't sound dumbed down. It just sounds like not so foreign that you might be able to actually wrap your head around it.
Cool. So.
Oh yes, that's right, Daniel Davis.
Imagineer.
Real quick, Daniel Davis. It was Siskel and Ebert's worst film of 1984. Yeah, I remember that. Now that you say that, yeah, people hated that movie.
So You Want to Be an Imagineer asks, between Infinity Train Book 3 and Kaufman's I'm Thinking of Ending Things, this week has been exhausting from an existential head trip POV.
Okay. I don't know what any of that means. I apologize. What are we talking about? Are those things?
Two things.
Are those
came
things
out
I'm
this week?
supposed to be familiar with? Are they books? Are they movies? I don't know. I don't know what these things are. I really apologize. I don't know what we're talking about.
Well, yeah, Infinity Train Book 3 and Kaufman's I'm Thinking of Ending Things this week has been exhausting from existential head trip. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if
stumped us.
Is Infinity Train? I'm assuming that's not a comic thing. I don't know what these things are. I apologize. And he phrased that in such a way where it's like I ought to know what he's talking about. And so now,
it's like, obviously.
Now I'm feeling a bit self-conscious. Those sound like very existential titles, so I can't. I'm sure if I looked at them, I would not disagree with you.
Gregory Davidson says, I'm Thinking of Ending Things is a movie on Netflix. Watch Charlie Kaufman's movies, Cap.
Okay.
And then
I don't know. I don't even know who that is. Yeah. No, I apologize.
So You Want to Be an Imagineer says Infinity Train is a TV series.
Cool. Cartoon Network show. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Recommendation.
There's so much happening. There's so much stuff that comes out, and I realized that there hasn't been as much lately with quarantine and things. But like, I admittedly do not keep up real hard with a lot of current TV, and I don't know if that's my age or just not having as much time as I used to with having 3 kids and stuff. But like, I basically have to be planning a review before I commit to sitting down and watching a series. Because of everything I've got going on. So yeah, DJ, I worry all the time about losing touch. About like not knowing what the touchstones are. I also worry about there being no such thing as touchstones anymore, especially when it comes to television.
Yeah, there's just so much stuff. 50 different streaming services.
Logan Dobb was asking about real quick. Logan Dobb was asking about the Oscars thing, and Jedi Knight just wrote they already talked about the Oscars, and which could be why Logan Dodd is still watching. It's possible that if he had been here earlier, he would not be watching now. But I'm just joking, Logan Dodd. I said some things that I'm sure will be controversial to someone. Go ahead, DJ.
So You Want to Be an Imagineer?
Yeah.
Has another one. What Nintendo IP do you want to get a Switch game?
Ooh. Well, we talked about this a little bit last week. Where we were talking about like remakes of games and things that we'd want to see brought back. DJ was talking about Donkey Kong Country, and I vehemently disagreed.
Yeah, I'd like a third one of those. You wouldn't like a third one of those?
No, I'd love a third one of those. But I thought you were suggesting a remastering of the first game, and I don't want anybody to ever touch that.
Well, here he's just saying an IP that he wants it better.
Oh no, I know. I'm just revisiting last week because I think it's funny. But I was talking about Star Fox. But yes, of course I want a third game. It's driving me crazy that there has been no announcement of such a thing. Obviously, I need more Sonic Mania, and I realized that's not a Nintendo thing, and that's on everything, but it plays best on Switch. So that also comes to mind. But other big Nintendo IPs that we've not been going back to lately. Man, we talked about F-Zero last week. I agree with that. DJ, does anything else jump to mind? Because I mean, I know there's stuff.
I was such a Mario and Donkey Kong kid as a kid. I would just like another 2D Mario game because I never got into the 3D Mario games.
I want us to go to a new style I'm done with New Super Mario Brothers. We've been beating that horse for a decade, and it's time for that to end. Now, they haven't made a new one in quite a while because we've spent so much of Switch's life porting stuff from the Wii U. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great original stuff on the Switch, especially third party, and it's great that Nintendo finally has a system that so many third parties are making stuff for. It's just a massive, insanely huge library. There has not necessarily been the quality control some people would like, so there's some bad stuff there, but there's also a lot of, obviously fantastic stuff in every kind of, walk of gaming. But it would be, it'd also be nice to bring back side-scrolling Metroid. I mean, honestly, a lot of the old 2D stuff, it would be nice to finally see the same treatment we got for Donkey Kong. Could we bring Castlevania back like that? Is that too much to ask? I know there's some handhelds that did it for a long time, but I think it would be cool to get a massive 2D but with some 3D effects Castlevania game going. That's another one. Gregor Davison, do you like Mario Maker? Yes, I love Mario Maker. I don't spend enough time with it. I should. My Switch still has the stupid drift issue. It doesn't seem to matter what I do with it. It still has that. I've replaced the Joy-Cons. I've done all the cleaning stuff people have suggested. It doesn't matter what I do. I'm convinced it's the system at this point. And everything I've ever read has said that it's Joy-Cons. But I bought old ones. I've bought new ones. I've done everything there is to do with it. And I could be a month. I'm fine. And then suddenly it starts having that problem again. It doesn't matter what I do with it. It's like I'm going to need to get a new system at some point. I'm convinced it's the system.
Jeez.
I don't understand how that's possible, but what else is the answer? So, it's the only game that I love on that system that I would probably be playing all the time if I had the time to, but I would be playing a lot more than I'm playing if only I didn't have that problem. Everything else, I don't have to play in handheld mode, and it's not really a big problem. I could, I've got a lot of different kinds of controllers I can use, but you want the screen for that. You need to be able to use the Joy-Cons, so to move around the screen. So yeah, it's a huge problem, but I love it. I love that they finally, I guess I've not talked about this, a couple months ago, they finally put in a mode, DJ, that allows you to make full worlds. So you can basically make your own Mario game at this point. And I don't know why they didn't include that before. It was the only thing I wanted that wasn't included in the first game. There's a whole bunch of items and things that they've added later that's really nice to finally be able to use, and it's nice that we could slope now and stuff like that. But the biggest thing that Mario Maker was missing was you could upload a level, and you could make and play a level, but you couldn't make a map, and a Mario 3 or Mario World-esque map, and you beat this level, and then you go to this level, and it's limited, but it's there now, and thank God. And so I started making one of those, and then I made a couple of worlds, and then I had the drift problem again, and so I haven't gotten back to it, but yes, it's spectacular. It's so much fun. And it's what I always wanted when I was a kid. And so it's a thing that I will never get tired of. I'll be playing that forever. It's just wonderful.
Awesome. John Ty, thoughts on celebrity/internet celebrity worship?
It's a thing that goes back to antiquity, certainly. It's always been a problem in society, that we like to kind of lift people onto a pedestal whose work we really like, but whose personality and personal life we may know nothing, actually really about. So it's difficult sometimes to see celebrities as people, and I sympathize with that. I don't mean to act like I'm above other people because I don't have that. I get starstruck. I have met lots of celebrities in person at cons and other things, and if it's somebody that I really like, and really like their work, partly because of that reason, it's easy. It can be easy to get starstruck and to not know what to say to a person, right? Because you don't want to find out that they're not everything that you love about them. That they're not, the idealized person rather that you imagine in your head, and nobody can live up to that. And then they're never going to be. And sometimes it can be really refreshing to find out that this A-list actor that you've always loved that lives in what feels like a totally other world because they have millions of dollars and you have not that, that they are just a person, You know, that is just a guy. But anyway, so it's I don't know what to say about it. I mean, it's I sympathize with why that happens. You know, with why people tend to kind of worship celebrities. I think one of the big problems with it is you think two big things happen, and they're kind of opposites, right? Where like you think that someone can do no wrong, so you don't believe it when they do. And then you also have the problem of when you have a shattering disillusionment and you've discovered that somebody that you thought could do no wrong you want to drag them down and not give them another chance. And again, I'm not talking about the Me Too thing. I'm not talking about with people that have done really heinous things where they should probably go to jail and we should not necessarily let them work in the industry again. But I'm just saying that very famously, I mean, again, writers have written about this since antiquity. We like to tear down our heroes. We like to see people fall from grace as much as we like underdog stories. It's the nature of, it seems to be the nature of the human condition, especially on a on a broad scale, on a groupthink kind of scale, and so it can be really detrimental to celebrities too. I'll tell you this, because of. And I don't think it's gotten any better with social media, and in some cases I think it's gotten worse. Like in some ways with social media, because we have more access to people and sometimes we can actually directly contact them with Twitter and things and talk to people, we start to see celebrities as more like ourselves, as just regular people, and sometimes we hold them to way too high of standards because of that, and it makes it even worse, right? But I'll tell you, because of the hero worship thing, there is a level of fame that I would never want to achieve. I think that, like a lot of people, when I was a kid or even as a young adult, I had different kinds of ambitions than I do now. And I think at one time, I kind of liked the idea of everyone knowing my name, you know, and like being able to go out in public and everybody you knew who you were. Go watch the documentary that Netflix released recently. Oh, that's my phone. Go watch the Netflix documentary series in 10 parts that recently. That's really loud. Can you guys hear that? That recently Netflix released on Michael Jordan, and you'll understand why it's not any fun at all to be that level of celebrity. Like, there's a level that you'd never want to get to. Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, really anybody with the initials MJ. I think I would never want to be. Yeah, but even Mary Jane, I don't think I want to be her either. But for probably other reasons. Yeah. So I don't know.
What's your son's middle name? It's not a J, is it?
No, because that would make him JJ, and I would never do that. Again,
no, I'm talking about Mikey.
Oh, Mikey. Michael's middle name is Logan.
Okay.
I gave Michael
He's an ML.
Name. Yeah. But anyway, I rambled on for a long time. But DJ, do you have extra thoughts on that? I don't mean to cut you out. I'm sure you have thoughts about that.
You got it. You got it covered. Don't be famous. That's the rules. Logan died.
Unless you're DJ. I think DJ would be a great famous person.
No, I would hate it. I would hate it if people. I don't even like people taking pictures of me. Thoughts on the Oscars' new inclusion diversity rules? We talked about that, and then also thoughts on Seth Rogen's TMNT project. It's from Logan Dodd.
If I knew Seth Rogen was involved in that, I have momentarily forgotten about it. But it may be that I did hear about that. You probably go back to a Captain Logan show from a few weeks ago, and we did a whole thing on it. I don't remember that. But yeah, so I can't speak to that. There's been a lot of talk about a like more adult streaming thing, and there's been talk about a new movie franchise, and maybe these things are happening simultaneously. I'm pretty sure they're not the same thing, but I don't know. I don't know anything about that.
I'm looking it up. The Seth Rogen thing is a computer-generated big screen movie.
Okay, I don't know if we've talked about this. I don't know if I did hear about that.
Along the lines of TMNT from 07.
Yeah. I mean, that's a mighty fine way to do that.
Interesting.
It worked great in 07 with the exception of a really generic villain. But the characterizations of the turtles and the animation was really good. I thought the turtles looked slightly anorexic, but other than that, I liked the designs and everything.
I like the lean turtles actually. I like because they're always. I mean, even all the way back to the beginning, they're all big and fat, and I'm always like wondering how they're gonna.
I'm
move
cool
around.
with them being leaner, but they have these really skinny necks that just make them look like they needed to eat more pizza. Like it's a little weird.
Hey man, you can't grow your neck. I mean,
Daniel Davis says could be good. I don't have anything to base it on. Yeah, I'm assuming that article just says Seth Rogen's involved in this animated Ninja Turtles thing.
I'm going to read this quote from Seth Rogen.
Yeah, go ahead.
As a lifelong fan of Ninja Turtles, weirdly, the teenage part of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was always the part that stuck out to me the most. And as someone who loves teenage movies and who's made a lot of teenage movies and who literally got their start in their entire profession by writing a teenage movie, the idea of kind of honing in on the element, was really exciting to us. I mean, not disregarding the rest, but really using that as a kind of jumping off point for the film.
Okay, I'm glad you read that because now I'm nervous. That makes me nervous. Yeah. So he's gonna make maybe it won't be raunchy, but he's gonna make a teen comedy out of Ninja Turtles. It is what I'm reading between the lines with that. He's gonna do a classic Seth Rogen film with Ninja Turtles. The first sentence, I made me nervous. As soon as you said, "Well, it's the teenage part that always," okay, all right.
That's the least. That's the most.
Maybe that take will be great.
Part. Turtles, mutants, and ninjas are all more interesting than teenagers.
Yeah. Well, and I will say that this is a thing I thought about a lot too, where there's a lot of versions where you very quickly forget that they're supposed to be that age. But I often like that doesn't matter as much. You know what I mean? Like the teenage part very often with Ninja Turtles just kind of allows them to have the kind of comedy they have when you want that, where they can be somewhat more relatable to the audience that they were aimed at. But I see the Turtles very often as like in their early 20s before I see them as like 15 or 16. Ironically, especially in their introduction, when you go back to the Mirage comics, they don't feel like teenagers to me at all in that. They feel like they feel like they should be going to college pretty soon.
Yeah, it feels like they just needed one more word to round out the cool name. They just stuck teenage in there.
Yeah, immediately and I realize that this is that this thing is supposed to be animated, and the thing I'm about to mention is live action, but immediately I'm like, oh, okay, so we're gonna sort of make. I mean, I guess Turtles has always had a comedic element, so at least we're not taking a thing that's serious and making it a comedy. But I'm thinking, oh yeah, that's right. Everybody remember Green Hornet? Like I'm thinking of that now, and it's like that was Seth Rogen, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and so I'm like, oh,
I don't think he'll be starring in
Do
this
we want the
now.
guy who made that to make? Yeah, but he was really influential in how that movie got made, and yeah. So I don't know, but it still sounds more fun than the Michael Bay thing. Like it at least sounds like a vision, like somebody's not trying to do a least common denominator thing and try to appeal to every single person on the planet. Like Seth Rogen will just make his version, and we'll either like it or we won't, but it'll at least be what he wanted to make, which is immediately, no matter what it is, a step up from that last thing. Because that Green Hornet movie, there's fun stuff in it. It's not terrible. It's just not what you want from Green Hornet. But I'll do a rewind on that eventually. It's not unwatchable. There's fun stuff in that. I had never seen an elevator break a car in half before. That was pretty cool. I mean, there's some fun stuff in that.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed that movie.
And his Kato was great.
A million years ago.
That guy should have gotten his own movie as that character. They should have just made Kato and called it a day, and not even have Seth Rogen in it.
Yeah, I'm hoping they don't go like the Scoob route with this Ninja Turtles movie, because that would be horrible. Second one from Logan Dodd. Thoughts on Apple TV Plus Foundation TV series trailer?
Oh, I didn't see that. I heard about it, but I have not looked at that. Foundation is another thing that I started reading at one point and could not get into the pros of and have never finished. So that's the theme this week is Asimov. Okay. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Foundation Trilogy. So that is, I'm pretty sure that's what that is. So that's the theme for this week, DJ. It's major science fiction works.
Trailers.
Major science fiction works from the 50s and 60s that have never gotten a great film version that I tried to read the books of and couldn't get through. That's... Sounds like I have homework to do.
Yeah, well, I need to watch all these trailers. I haven't seen any of them. Have you heard of this Raised by Wolves series?
No.
It's like a Ridley Scott show that just came out. I don't know what it is. Some kind of sci-fi thing. Anyway,
I don't know anything
I was
about
wondering
that.
if you heard of it.
So let me stop you for a second and say we're just past an hour. How many super chats do we have left, and have we done very much pre-written tonight?
We have not done too much pre-written. There's a lot of super chats. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 left.
Okay, could we get? I didn't expect this to go this long tonight. Can we get into a little bit of pre-written so we don't shaft those folks, and then come back to super chats? Dwan says, so Captain Logan doesn't like hard science fiction. I'm picky. That's what it is. I like some hard science fiction, but I'm really picky with prose, is the thing. I need character. I need immediately, very clearly character-driven hard science fiction. So I don't want to read like 50 pages about how technology works before I understand who my characters are. I don't mean to say that the two things we're talking about are not at all character-driven. I mean to say that I read 20 pages and could not, and just didn't like the language and didn't find a person to latch onto to help me through it. So if neither of those two things are there in the first 2 or 3 chapters, it's really, unless I have to do it for a assignment for something, it's really difficult to get into it. So
yeah, there's every chance you could love both of those books if you just got
everything my wife told me about Dune. I'm sure I would think it was one of the greatest things ever, but I almost need I need some kind of gateway into it. It's just not it's just not the kind of language I enjoy reading, at least at first. There's just this adjustment I've not made yet.
Yeah, I would say Dune kind of reads more like a fantasy book. It's just in a sci-fi world.
That's why Sarah loves it.
Yeah, and that's why I got into it, because well, now I read more sci-fi, but I hadn't read a lot of sci-fi when I read Dune. But yeah, maybe the movie will be that gateway that you need. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm hoping so.
Who is a better visual director, Sam Raimi or Zack Snyder?
Wow. Apples and oranges, I think, is the correct response to that. You said Snyder, right?
Yes. Sorry.
That is the 3rd airplane, and you're nowhere near an airport. What is happening?
That one sounds like it's about to hit the house. I have no idea what's going on.
Really darn close.
This has never happened. We've done like 100 shows.
Yeah,
and
we've done all these shows.
I don't know what's going on. Some kind of military.
You're going to turn on the news after this, and you're going to hear someone trying to downplay it and just be like, "It was a training exercise." Okay, so there was a question.
Better visual director.
Oh yes,
Sam Raimi or Zack Snyder.
So I'm going to say that Raimi has kept a certain kind of consistency and has maybe over the years improved as a director. And Snyder I loved as a visual director early on, and I think at some point he got kind of lazy, or he's not working always with the right DP. Because I've complained a lot before about certain of his movies, particularly Man of Steel, where he forgets to show us a location before he gets in there, and you can't even tell if you're in a built place or if you're standing on a green screen. I've never had that with Raimi, but they're also doing very different things. Snyder, Raimi starts as a horror director. Snyder is making more has more of like a music video or TV commercial kind of style. And I think he starts in that place. I think he starts in music videos. I don't know if I'm right about that, but I'd be really surprised if he didn't, just looking at his stuff. So Sam Raimi from the beginning is a visual storyteller who's trying to tell a story in more traditionally, even if they're kind of quirky and weird, and Snyder is more interested in the scene by scene that he is in the larger pictures. So one is about the forest and one is about the trees, and I tend to be more interested in people who are both telling a story and understand the story that they're telling, and Snyder is not always doing that. So I don't know. My favorite Snyder movies, I think I love more visually than the things from Raimi that I've really liked. But overall, I think he's a better director. I think that's my answer.
Same. Like, I think that question is mainly based on taste, because I would have to go with Snyder by default, because I like Watchmen so much, and I like Man of Steel a lot, and Sam Raimi has just never made a movie for me.
And I like 300.
Because I don't like horror movies, and I don't like his Spider-Man movies, and I really didn't like his Oz movies. So like, it's just like, I mean, I think he's a good director. He's just not my thing. But good question. Interesting question.
Man
Weird-
Cove
weird
TV,
pairing.
do you count Darkman as a Universal monster? No, but I'd love for someone at Universal to make the case. I'd love to see a crossover at the
He
very
looks
least.
like he looks like he could be in a comic
Darkman
crossover.
versus the Universal monsters is a thing that I would go see, and most people would have no idea why that existed, but
That
I would
sounds like a
love that.
Beetleborg season.
Oh yeah, that's a spectacular idea. I mean, it would make $19, but it's a really cool idea.
Cap, this is from, oh, here we go, more filmmaker questions. Daniel Davis, do you prefer a filmmaker who's bursting with style and maybe brings that to a comic book movie versus a director who's just a handy journeyman and gets the job done well?
Man, did we get back to the either or show thing? Because I love those. I want to do another one of those soon. That's what we're doing now. Wow, that's a really cool question, actually. I tend to get really excited about the more stylized things, but it just depends on. I don't mean to make everything a depends question, but it kind of depends mostly on the kind of story that you're translating. Like, not just because it's in comics. Because when you think comics, you think more stylized, but there are a lot of more down-to-earth, relatively anyway, more like the real-world comic stories than some others, right? So not every movie needs somebody like a Snyder, or even like a James Gunn, that comes in and has like a really specific, unique visual style, and splashes the screen with comic over the topness. Sometimes what you need is somebody who gets the comic sensibilities, but isn't doing something so bombastic or stylized, like a Joss Whedon or something. So I think it just depends on what it is that we're trying to translate. So if you're doing a Blade, you want somebody that's doing more like straight up comic book storyboards and that kind of thing. But if you're doing something like Civil War, you want maybe a little bit of that. But the Russos are also from more that kind of reeled in, down to earth sort of tradition.
Yeah, it's a great question. For the love of the, did you know that? Have you seen For the Love of the Game?
No.
Sorry, Daniel Davis just told me to ask me if I've seen it. It's a Sam Raimi movie. It's another Kevin Costner baseball movie from the 90s.
Yeah, I've heard of that and I knew that, but I've never watched it. I should, because I should just watch every Kevin Costner sports movie, because he also made a football movie with Tom Welling that people said was okay, but I never got around to watching. And my favorite Kevin Costner movie is one of my favorite movies, which is sort of a sports movie, Field of Dreams.
Draft Day.
Draft Day. So I should sit down and just watch his catalog of sports movies. Oh, I did watch that basketball movie that what's his face? Ben Affleck made. It's on it's on HBO Max right now. Yeah, The Way Back. Did you see that?
But The Way Back is my favorite movie ever. So it's.
I got to the end of that movie, and the first thing I thought was, I'm not totally sure why it's called The Way Back. I was not really nailing I was not really nailing that movie title, and I'm not sure how I feel about the ending, because it seems like, unless I'm missing something, that there's a thing that they set up right toward the end with Ben Affleck, and then nothing happens with it. And I think I'm just, maybe I need a second watch. I'm not sure, but overall, I really liked that movie. It's Ben Affleck playing this really sympathetic but very self-destructive character, and it's interesting considering the time of his life he's making that movie, the character he's playing, with everything that we've heard about him, behind the scenes when the DCEU was kind of falling apart. So it looked like maybe a bit of a catharsis for him. He gives a brilliant and stunning performance in that. It seems like he's bringing a lot of himself into that right then, and it's really sad and heartbreaking, and impressive that it made me care as much about him while he's making all the wrong moves through a lot of that movie. But like I said, it's a real self-destructive kind of thing.
That's cool.
But I like it. Yeah.
So about For the Love of the Game, I asked him if I should check it out. I said I hadn't seen it. He said it's fine, so probably not, to be honest. But it's one of the few straightforward non-genre flicks he's made. So I don't know. Maybe check it out if you want to, at your own risk. I'm gonna jump back The super chats, we can come back to some pre-writtens. Those are two great pre-writtens. I'm glad I went to those. Carl Maxey, which is the most awkward / eye-rolling name drop? Oh, that's a great question. It's Rey's Skywalker line at the end of Rise of Skywalker, or the Robin line in Dark Knight Rises. Oh.
Well, one of these is awful for a worse reason, right? Like, I think I was already really done with that movie by the time I got there when it comes to Star Wars, so I'm already rolling my eyes through most of that. So when we get to that, I'm like, and also,
of course,
after the first 15 minutes of that movie, I'm like, well, I think I know where this is going, and I see why that's the name of this, and she's not gonna actually be a Skywalker, but they're gonna call her that at the end, right? And then that's exactly what happened. So, like, I wasn't surprised by that. I was kind of shocked and dismayed that they went that far with the Robin line, that they said that is his actual given name. So I think just in the moment, that bothers me more because I was blindsided by the, in my opinion, kind of stupidity of it. It's really ridiculous, and I don't like it, and I will stand by that till my grave. But the Skywalker thing is a worse problem. I mean, like, if Rises had no other issues and I didn't have character motivation and plot hole problems with that movie, that would be the only thing I would make fun of it for and complain about, besides maybe the Bane voice, but not complaining, just it's fun to make fun of. But the Robin thing would be the only thing I would be really, really complaining about, and then that would be a different conversation, because I'd be like, can you believe this brilliant movie did this insane, throw a bone at the fans thing? That whole movie is that with Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. So I feel like, given the criteria of the question, which is the most awkward / eye rolling, I think that was more awkward. I mean,
just because that whole movie is, just because with Star Wars the whole movie's awkward, so it's not as awkward when we get to the end, because I've been experiencing that whole time. So the answer is Rises, but that doesn't make what Rises did worse than what, you see what I'm saying? It doesn't make it worse than what Star Wars did.
No, we're just answering the question. We're not saying it's
We're just answering the question.
TH1. That's gonna be the catchphrase of the show now. We're just answering the questions. That's what the show is.
That's what it is. We should rename the show to we're just answering the questions.
Just answer your question. I'm going to see Black Panther in theaters on Saturday. What is your go-to snack in a theater? Mine is pretzel, 3 things of cheese, large popcorn, large drink. Wow.
Man,
you must have
he just goes all the way, man. That is an all or nothing kind of guy. He's either gonna snack or he's not gonna snack.
Go ahead.
And he's also spending $45 every time.
Seriously, what? I was gonna say, what in the world?
And if you're not, I want you to tell me your secret. Tell me how you sneak that in, because that means that popcorn bucket is bigger on the inside.
Yeah, we used to, when I was a kid, we used to sneak in food. I went to the theater with my friend and his dad, and my dad made my friend sneak a fully popped bag of popcorn in through his jacket. He literally looked like this going into the theater, and he was like a 7-year-old kid or 8-year-old kid.
Wow.
I actually don't eat anything in theaters.
And I'm sure occasionally he would get stopped by was that a 4th airplane?
Yeah,
I'm sure
I need to start muting my mic.
Did you open an airport? No, because I want to keep counting them.
There was like 2 or 3 before we even started shooting.
But I would assume the manager has stopped that kid, right?
I don't know. It was a different time. It was when I was 8.
It was a different time.
20 years ago.
Oh, do I have to answer that question? I guess my answer is Reese's Pieces if I'm gonna have anything.
Okay. Cool.
But I don't usually go for hot stuff at a movie theater, just because it's really expensive these days, and I don't like popcorn that much. So, like, if it was, $2 or $3, I'd get nachos, but it's not.
Yeah, I never understood why we have to eat while we watch a movie. Like, you can't. I don't know. It's never been a thing I've done. I've never done it.
Oh.
Except unless it's like a restaurant, like a movie, studio movie grill that we have here. I've done that. Where you go, it's like a date night.
Yeah, or like the fork and screen. Yeah.
But I never understand needing to snack in like an 1.5-hour movie. Like, you can't go an 1.5 hour. I don't know.
Well, I think the answer is that
I just don't like hear people eat.
It's called DJ subliminal advertising. It's the movie
Well, I don't like
theater.
when people give into it.
It's the movie theater constantly throwing images of Coke and popcorn at you and making you go, oh yeah, I could really go for that right now. And also it's the peer pressure of everyone around you is doing that, and you're smelling it, and it smells good, and you're like, well, I'm not. It's almost a status thing eating at a movie theater. It's like, no, I can afford your $12 M&Ms, and then you're eating that because it's some of it is
different mindset.
Some of it is we've always been doing that. Like movie snacks are a tradition, certainly. And I think it's also these days especially, it's because it's what keeps the movie theaters open. So just whatever they can do to make you want snacks. And I think a lot of people know that now. And I think for some people, it's almost charity. I think some people really do buy snacks mostly because they know that it keeps the movie theaters open. I don't know if that's a lot of people, but there's got to be those people, right? Where it's like, if I don't buy a snack, I feel like I didn't actually give the theater any money because they get such a tiny percentage on ticket sales that if I want to support movie theaters and keep them open, I have to order their $25 bucket of popcorn.
Yeah, I guess I just have the complete opposite reaction to peer pressure. It makes me want to not do it more. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have that too.
Or like
sure.
advertising. Like advertising makes me want to completely not use your stuff. John Ty.
Well, let me say this too, though. Let me say one more thing about this. So 2 hours in the theater, I used to get really parched and always had to have something to drink. I've changed my diet to some degree, so I don't have the thing I used to where I feel like I gotta drink stuff all the time. If you cut some sugar out of your diet, you don't have that as much. And it took me 30-something years to learn this, but it used to be, I always had to be drinking, and I used to be very addicted to soda, and so I would drink a lot of soda when I was in the theater. But the other thing is, I have a hard time staying awake in a dark room. And eating something sugary or drinking something caffeinated especially would help to keep me awake and remind me that I'm in a theater and that I'm not in my dreams in my brain. So I think that's one of the reasons that I used to get stuff when I would go to the theater is to stay awake.
No, you don't have to justify yourself to me. I'm just sharing my perspective. But John Ty, I want to read this real quick. Tom gave us exactly how much he spent, $31.89, including the price of the ticket.
Wow, was I in the ballpark, or did I say some ridiculous number? I can't remember what I said. Did I say 25 or did I say like, no, I said like 45. Okay. It's crazy that I was only $15 off though. That's not okay.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, hey, you spend your money however you want to spend your money, man. I mean, I get that. I pay for overpriced stuff sometimes too. Particularly if I go to not that I do this a lot, but if I go to a ball game, I like to eat at a ball game. And if it's a little overpriced, I'll pay it. I've been to concerts and spent $8 or $10 on a beer. Like, I'm not proud of that, but I'll do it,
Yeah, that's a lot. He can't complain about the Milan thing. Well, I guess he can't because it doesn't come with food. Maybe food is his thing.
He can, but the thing is, no, I don't think he can. What did he say? 31? What was it?
89.
See, even as overpriced as the food at the theater is, he's not gonna get all of that made at home for $1.88. It's just not gonna happen. So he's not gonna be able to get to. He's still gonna spend more than he usually would having to buy Mulan at home, and he's not gonna get to see it on a big screen, and he's not gonna get to smell popcorn all through the room. So.
Oh, well, that's a plus in my book.
Well, some people love that. I don't know. I'm with you. I don't. I used to like popcorn, and I worked at a movie theater for only 9 months, and that was back when I was 19. And to this day, I can't eat popcorn.
Wow.
Still, to this day, I just don't even want that. And I've worked at a lot of other food places, man. Like, I used to deliver pizza. I had pizza in my car all the time. I had to smell that. It is the only food that I worked at freaking IHOP, and I could still eat pancakes, but I'm not having popcorn now.
To this day. That sounds like a good book title. Should keep that on the back burner.
Oh, are we doing that again? Are we still trying to name my memoirs? This is such a self-indulgent show, man. No, like, nobody should talk about themselves as much as I talk about myself. Anyway.
Oh, well, we're talking about TH1 some more because he did buy Mulan. He said it was about $3 cheaper. Okay, so I guess he's not complaining. Good, you're consistent.
Quick plug, Connor and I are reviewing that on Sunday, so I'm also going to have to take the hit on that. I hate that, but I wanted to review it, so we're going to do it. Connor and I.
Awesome.
I don't have a time for you yet as far as...
Connor for his Disney Plus password.
as well, if you must know, he and I are splitting the cost. So on Sunday, we're gonna do a live show. I can't give you a time yet because I have other engagements earlier in the evening that have just come to my attention. So I don't know if we're gonna be able to start as early as we usually do, or if it's gonna be more like 8 or 9 in the evening. So and I gotta talk to Connor and see if because I haven't talked to him yet about his schedule, and he was there in the comments earlier. So hey Connor, I don't know what time we're going Sunday. I'll talk to you about it later. Anyway, that's what we always do. We just plan everything on camera. How many more super chats do we have?
Even when the person you're planning with isn't here.
Yeah.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
My goodness.
Well, yeah,
Thanks,
7,
guys.
but I think one of those was Tom's, so maybe we already read.
Okay.
Maybe not.
Hey, real quick,
John
I just want to thank everybody for being here and for hanging out with us. This has been the best variety. Speaking of diversity, this has been the best variety of questions, DJ, I think we've had in a lot of weeks. You guys are wonderful. Really picking my brain tonight. It's been fun. It's been really fun.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for the show.
Like
I said, it's your show, okay? So also, if the show is great, I'll give you the praise for that as well.
Yeah. We should always give them the praise. They always give us a great show. Fantastic questions.
That's true. I did not mean to imply that shows in the past have sucked because the questions were bad. The questions are always good. I might have made it's possible that I made shows bad. It is. I will take one for the team on that. It's possible.
Oh, I did not even know this. John Ty, this Saturday DC is having a new Fandome.
What?
With more talk.
I was about to make a joke, like, oh my god, not another Fandome, right? Seriously? Look, I got other things to do than just keep covering friggin' Fandomes. Okay, I'm sorry. What is it? So
Multiple Fandomes.
So is it comic related this time?
He says Saturday DC is having a new Fandome with more talks about the comic side of the DC universe. Wow, you nailed it.
Nailed it.
That's cool.
All right. Well, I probably won't do a whole show on that, but I imagine some stories will come up about that next week, or I guess the week after, because again, we're not going live next week. We're gonna be doing Ultimate Spider-Man all next week. Okay.
Thanks for the heads up, John.
Yeah. Thanks for I appreciate it. Glad to know that.
Logan Dodd back again. Have you had a director in mind for another attempt at Superman? Mine would be Brad Bird. His would be Brad Bird, Peter Berg, Zemeckis, or Denis Villeneuve.
I mean, Zemeckis, like 20 years ago, would have been great. Yeah. I don't know if he'd be up to that now, but yeah. Goodness gracious.
Interesting.
Great balls of fire.
That'd be even more sci-fi than Man of Steel was. That'd be like a hard sci-fi movie. Superman movie.
Yeah, who's been making stuff lately? That I think would be great for Superman, because I mean, like, man, I'm trying to come up with just
he picked four great ones.
Those are good responses. Yeah. I'm trying to think, and so I'm trying to think of something like real, like off the beaten path. Because we were talking earlier about like really stylized comic directors, and obviously, I mean, that first Superman movie is an epic, but obviously Donner is not that. I don't mean to say that Donner was just a workhorse director. I think he's a wonderful director, but he was closer to what whoever asked that question was talking about. And since Snyder did such a super stylized thing, at least with BVS, I mean, I guess he was going with a color palette, at least, that looked a little bit closer to the Nolan movies with that first. Isn't that weird? That first movie is like really stylized, but it's also really, you're trying to be more grounded, and I just, it's an odd attempt at a tonal balance. But anyway, I honestly, next time,
it doesn't feel like a Zack Snyder movie. Sorry.
No, it doesn't.
Doesn't it? It doesn't. He's like got like the rich blacks and like the dark shadows, and that's like a gray movie.
Which is why BVS is, which is one of the many reasons BVS is so awkward, because it's a sequel to that movie that, while in a lot of ways it is a direct sequel to that, it feels like it's set in a completely different universe. You certainly didn't get any sense that Gotham was right next to that Metropolis. But anyway, so I almost, and I don't know who it would be, I almost would want to see somebody get a little bit closer to the look of the Donner movies. And I don't even mean that I would want a script just like that. I don't mean go back to Superman Returns, which really, in a lot of ways, doesn't feel like those to me, even though it's trying really hard to. But, like, I would want something with... Yeah, that's not what Singer did with it, even though he made that seemingly as just a love letter to Donner, and I always thought he could have just, written him a note, but he had to make like a, $150 million movie, or however much that movie cost.
Do you think Donner watched it?
I don't know if Donner watched. Yeah, he's making this love letter, and Donner's like, you know what, I think I'll pass. I think he's just trying to do me again. No, I would love to see something with, like, more comic characters and villains and get away from the Lex and the Zod of it all, but with some of the ideas in mind. So this is going to be a cop out. I think I have what I really want.
That's okay. My answer's a cop out too.
You know what I'm going to say, right? I want Patty Jenkins to do it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Someone said that in the chat.
And that might be the obvious response, but she's made the second or third best Superman movie. And it doesn't have Superman in it. And also, in smarter ways, that was the love letter to what Donner did. Because, obviously it's more influenced in doing there's some specific homages, but it's not just, ripping that off or trying to do it again.
She would play it completely straight, too. She would have no hesitancy about any of the Superman lore, because she killed it with that movie.
I'm not going to try to come up with another response. I think that's what I want. I think I want Pat. And it's not just who would be cool to do it. It's who I want now that I'm thinking about it. She should get to make Superman. Yeah, absolutely. She's earned it. She's more than... And I don't even care if 84 sucks. Even if 84 sucks, I'm still going to say this.
She has the inner still. But yeah, mine is a cop-out because everyone's been saying it. And he even was like on the schedule for a little bit. Matthew Vaughn was supposed to do one. A Superman movie, so I still want that, even though he doesn't seem like he's gonna get back into it.
Yeah, I didn't go to Vaughn just because that almost happened and it fell off, and we know that's probably never gonna happen. But yes, I mean, I'd love to see that too. Yeah, sure.
So good, great question. Carl Maxey, which is the biggest comic book cop out? Speaking of cop outs,
wow,
Pym particles, magic, I Am Batman, or the Speed Force? What a great question.
Oh, well, they're all the same thing in their respective stories. Is I think the answer to that question, right? Like, but if I have to actually, so let's break them down. If I have to actually answer it. So we got Pym particles, which is just like a MacGuffin that we can bring out whenever we need it for lots of different things. Like, they make things shrink, but don't we also bring out Pym particles to do lots of other things too? Like, isn't that often just kind of like Kryptonite in Smallville, where it's like, throw some Pym particles at it, that'll fix the problem. So that's a physical but microscopic MacGuffin. And then you have the Speed Force, which is kind of like slingshotting around the sun in Star Trek, where if we need to time travel, we can just jump into the Speed Force, but we can also use the Speed Force as an explanation for all kinds of crazy like anomalies and things to happen. So I'm going to cut the Speed Force out of this conversation because I think more often it's used as a detriment than as a like cop-out MacGuffin, or at least as often, right? Like, the Speed Force causes as much problems as it solves. Pym particles maybe do sometimes as well, but I think the Speed Force much more so. So I'm gonna cut that out. And then you got the Batman problem, which now we don't even have like a tangible thing. Now it's just how do we retroactively explain the way Batman did this thing? He's Batman. He can do anything. What's his superpower? He doesn't have superpowers. But if he had a superpower, it's the fact that he's he's Batman.
That's gotta be it, right? That's
and he can do anything. One. And then what was the other one that you mentioned? This is a great question, by the way. Magic? Yeah, but magic is.
But that's built into the premise of
the premise. Yeah, that's the most... everything in comics and a lot of other things, uses magic. So I'm Batman is the answer. But they're all kind of the same thing.
All four of these are just like magic, but magic is already magic.
Yes.
So. Yeah, I think I Am Batman is the most egregious, just because it's like you didn't even do your homework. You just said, you didn't even come up with an answer.
And also because it's the only one of those that solves every problem with zero explanation at all. Those other three things, usually there would be at least like a minute or two of exposition of technobabble to say, well, see, we put the Pym particles in this thing, we mixed it with this, and then this happened, and then poof, we solved the problem. With Batman, it's, okay, wait a minute. So you managed to get from Mexico City to Gotham in like 3 minutes? How'd you do that? I'm Batman. And then that's it. And then we would just move on. Like, that's
you can't even.
That's Batman.
Like that one. They don't even feel like they need to come up with an explanation because you don't even have the right to ask. because it's Batman. Like,
Yeah, well, that's what Batman means. Yeah, it's like no, you know I can do anything, right? Like, why would you even ask the question? That's exactly.
how dare you ask how I did that? I'm Batman. Anyway, this is a new name I don't recognize immediately. From this super chat, Old Man Out Inc. Old
Oh
Man
no,
Out.
no, I've seen him. He's been around. Welcome,
Cool.
welcome back. I haven't seen him in a while, so welcome back. But yeah,
So welcome, sir. Good to see you. What's Cap's idea of a nigh utopian society? How about dystopian? That's Kareem. He signs it Kareem. So yeah.
Oh yes, that is Kareem. I always forget what his username is, but yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I thought Kareem usually just popped up as Kareem. Hi Kareem. It's good to see you, buddy. So my notion of a nigh-utopian society and then a dystop. I love the idea of, by the way, of a nigh-dystopian society. I wish we'd use that term more often, where it's like it's not the worst. Like there's still some fun to be had. I feel like Alina Battle Angel is a nigh-dystopian society. You can still get a sandwich, you know. Okay, so So I guess Kareem just means like what I would see as utopian, like the world I would want to live in. Because I mean that's interesting because it would be kind of relative, right? Like the first thing I thought of was whenever we think of utopias, we all kind of land on the same thing, and I guess just like your own personal hell, your own personal utopia wouldn't be the same for everybody across the board either. I mean, again, cop-out answer. I think it's probably Star Trek. I think that's kind of the world I would want to live in, a world where not only does everybody more or less get along, not to feel like the early TNG thing is stupid. Like people would still fight; it's human condition. There would still be problems and stuff. But where we've gotten rid of a lot of our pettiness, and most importantly, we care more about. We care less about the acquisition of things and more about improving ourselves. Just a society that's built entirely on self-improvement would be the best. But the other thing that's great about the Star Trek future is that we care about exploration again, that we want to know everything we can know, and that we're fascinated by everything. That's one of the things that sometimes makes our present day feel a little bit dystopian to me, is that I feel like a lot of people, and sometimes maybe it's just because they don't have the time to be interested. They're too worried about putting food on the table. Are not curious, or not intrigued, or not interested, or not, as I always say, critical thinkers. And that puts us into sometimes scary territory, I think. So, yeah, it's. I know there's a lot of people that say that kind of really easy answer. Why do you like Star Trek? Oh, it's a positive future. But like, that would be the future, I think. Dystopian is 1984. I mean, I think that Orwell nailed that. I don't think that there's anything scarier than that, unless it's everyone's assimilated by the Borg. No one has any individuality whatsoever. Because at least 1984, like Big Brother is watching, but you at least still sort of have your own self. You're at least not conglomerated into a larger collective, so there's still some hope. There's still a chance that system might get teared down at some point. When you get to something like the Cybermen or like the Borg, there's no chance. There's no hope. Everybody's been taken over, and you don't have your own thoughts. So the Borg have always been a brilliant concept to me, because I think that is my greatest fear. I think losing my own individuality. It's why I'm so scared of things like Alzheimer's, so like getting older and not having my memories, and why I worry about how much of ourselves are chemical processes, that like you may not at some point be completely in control of who you even are. That's really scary to me. So my greatest fear is losing individuality. So I guess that's dystopia for me.
Cool. John Ty.
Question, man. You intimidated me with that question, but we got through it.
Yo, I love to do it. Give me questions that I can.
No, Kareem intimidated me. I guess you just by proxy of the fact that you had to read it intimidated me. But Kareem was the one that really.
Yeah. I'm the voice of the people. So give me intimidating questions that I can ask Cap. John Ty.
You don't sound anything like Kareem. You probably don't sound anything like any of these people.
I don't know. We should start taking calls on the show, and then I can know what people sound like.
Oh man, quit announcing things.
Geekolution Hotline coming next week.
I've always.
That's why we're taking a break off, is so we can install the Geekolution Hotline.
Stop announcing it.
Tell your friends.
I've always wanted to do something like that. I worry about how awkward some of that could be. Nothing against nobody, but you never know who's gonna call in. You know what I mean?
Oh, don't worry. I'll hang up on him. I'll take it.
Is that what you'll do? But I don't want to do it until I can get those calls to where you can hear them somehow going through the bat phone. I've always, that would be the best, where it's like, all right, you're on with Captain Logan. That would just be the best.
All right. John Ty, what?
Yeah.
With the death of Dennis O'Neil this year,
yeah.
What is your favorite things you have read from him?
I like what I've read of Dennis O'Neil's Batman. I don't think I've ever read like a whole Denny O'Neil run. I've still not gone through the question. I've wanted to review that for years. I need to do that. Eric and Vince are both big fans of that series, and I've just never done it. I've read, again, bits of his runs. So, I mean, I've read Venom, which I love. That's the precursor to Bane, where Batman, I talked about this a few days ago, I think, where Batman gets on that drug before we get to Vengeance of Bane and find out that we're gonna have a villain that is fueled by that stuff. I little bits of Green Arrow, Green Lantern, things like that. But like I said, never a whole run. But yeah, to me, he is one of those big guys in the 80s and into the 90s that really got what I think of as my Batman. So it's all Batman stuff.
Cool.
I think he invented
Sorry.
Azrael. Sorry, am I right about that? I like Sword of Azrael a lot. There's some silly stuff in Sword of Azrael, but that one's up there too. It's really good too.
Nice. William Parcell, would you say your relationship with the Spawn series ever reached an unhealthy level at any point?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, it did. That's the reason it took 2 years to do. Yeah. No, I don't mind talking about this. I had to quit for a while because I just couldn't handle it anymore. It challenged, and not that I ever bought into it as maybe this is good writing and I'm just a crazy person. Like, I never had that, but like, it messes with your standards. I mean, I was having to read that so much, and it was so counter to everything I know about good storytelling. And it was so rushed and lazy and insulting in a lot of ways. And also it was just relentlessly dark for no good reason. So not only am I constantly having to put up with really poor stories that I feel like was almost affecting, or maybe even affecting my writing. Like, I worried about even episodes of that show because I'm kind of a sponge. Like personality wise. So if I spend a little bit of time with a person, especially with kind of a big personality, I tend to start like taking on their traits a little bit. Like, I'll start to accidentally talk like them a little bit and that kind of thing. And it's really, my mood is affected by the mood of other people. So if I am, to some degree, if I'm writing a lot about a comic series, it's really easy to start getting that voice in your head while you're writing. And I didn't want Spawn Year to look like it was written by Todd McFarlane, And so I started to worry that my writing is beginning to suck because the influence that I have in narratively, literarily, is all McFarlane right now. I'm doing this show 5 days a week. I don't have time to read anything else. And so this is all I'm doing, and I'm handwriting it, so it takes longer. And so that's all I had time to read. And so, yes, it did get unhealthy. And the reprieves with the few decent things that other people wrote there, here and there. If I ever meet Bendis, I will ask him if I can hug him just for writing Sam and Twitch, because that got me through the back end of Spawn Year, or like part of that middle. Because every time I got to go back to Sam and Twitch, I had decent writing to write about. And it was still dark and gritty and depressing, and not the only thing you want to be reading, but it was at least quality, and there was some, there was some optimism and positivity in there, and there was some real levity that wasn't just like juvenile, kind of fart joke, kind of levity. And McFarlane didn't have that, and so I really needed. I really needed some good writing right then. I didn't have time to read any. So that absolutely. I mean, I've always said that that show almost broke me. It just turned me like. I kind of didn't want to do the job at a certain point, and if it's not any fun, I don't want to be doing this. I could be doing something else, and so I had to quit for a while, and I hated that I couldn't get it done in time. But I'm so proud of that show, and I don't think it would have been anything like as good as it turned out. In my mind, and I'm not trying to be all braggy about it. I'm just really proud of it. I'm happy with it personally, and I hope that other people like it. But I'm really happy with how it turned out. I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is, if I had actually forced myself to finish it in time, I don't think I would have been happy with it. And so I had to do that. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, not cool. That's very uncool. That's a sad story. PTSD, post-traumatic spawn disorder. That's what they call it.
My own damn fault. I mean, I just made a miscalculation in what I can handle with that because I hadn't read all of it. And so I went, here's a crazy experiment. Let's try it. And I could have quit that show earlier if it weren't for the fact that suddenly it was a narrative beginning, middle, and end, which I'd never intended it to be before. So even
it's all Pierce's fault, is what you're saying.
It is Pierce's fault, yeah. But that's true, yeah. And I blame him for that every chance I get. Him and Dan both. I hate both of those guys for that. I'm kidding. But I think I've lost my train of thought. I forgot what I was saying. I was saying something. I forgot what it was.
Oh, you're just talking about how you could have ended it if it didn't get
Thank you. Yeah, even with the production values of that show, I don't think people would have begrudged me too much canceling that show at a certain number of issues if I just thought it was so bad I couldn't keep reading it. Where I was just, look, I'm gonna do 100 and then I'm out. You know what I mean? Like, that's how many episodes you get of this show. But I had capped it at 365, and it didn't matter what those reviews were. There had to be one for every day to make the concept of that show work. And it wouldn't have mattered if it didn't have an ending. But then it turned into a story. And then I started realizing that people about midway through were watching it more for the story I was telling than for the reviews I was doing. The reviews became more of a component of this larger narrative, and suddenly I'm making a TV show, and I can't cancel my own TV show, and especially because I thought I was happy with how it was going, and so I was like, the stories I'm having to review suck, but the story I'm telling, some people are enjoying. I mean, it was never super popular, but the people that liked it really liked it, and I didn't want to disappoint them by not finishing it, and it had a clear ending. And at the point where I realized what the ending probably was, I was like, I can't let this go. I mean, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. I thought it was such a fun idea, I had to see it through. And so I've told this story before, but I wrote and filmed the 3-part finale, like 30, 40 shows before I finished the whole kit and caboodle. And like, I hate writing out of order like that, but I had like some 30, 40 shows that I had to go back and write after I already had the ending in the can, because for lots of reasons. But I mean, it had to get done. I knew at that point how it was going to end, and hopefully it doesn't read too retroactive after that. Those particular episodes, I don't know. I haven't gone back to it. I don't know how those episodes are, but that was a crazy person thing to do. But I had to get through it, so that's what I did.
The last super chat of the night is from Diggle's Dumb Ring, and he asks, "Will Diggle ever wear me?"
What?
Okay, I'm gonna try again. This question is from Diggle's Dumb Ring.
Before you ask this question, Diggle's Dumb Ring. Well, you know what? Maybe Diggle's ring is not dumb. Maybe it's awesome. We'll never know, because he became a Green Lantern and then left, because for whatever reason they're not doing Green Lanterns in that show, in those shows. So that was so weird. It's like suddenly a ring shows up, and those shows are so dumb. Anyway, yeah. So I don't know. I don't think we'll ever see that happen. I guess you never say never. But considering the fact that That just seemed like a way to write that character out and in a superficial way, trying to satisfy the audience. To go, he gets to go off and be a hero and like a more positive hero and all that. Okay, great. Yeah, I don't think they're ever going to come back and actually throw him in a show and let him do that, particularly because there's supposed to be that Green Lantern show on HBO Max, and I doubt very seriously if they do Green Lanterns over on CW. They've done the same thing in multiple places before, but considering they've had those shows on for 8 years and they've never done Green Lanterns, I wouldn't think they'd do it now finally when something else is finally going to actually do Green Lantern. So yeah, probably not. Professor Zoom 21 says it was pure fan service. And awkward fan service, too. Like, not even good fan service. Like, because Diggle's not a person who becomes a Green Lantern in the comics, so what's fan servicey about it except, look, finally we have more hints of Green Lanterns. Like this was the thing where anybody was waiting to happen. It almost plays like the no flights, no tights thing. Retroactively, if you knew Diggle was supposed to be a Green Lantern, it's like, why isn't he wearing a ring yet? Well, because that can't happen till the finale. It's Diggle's origin story to becoming a Green Lantern, even though you didn't even know he was going to be one. Well, Daniel Davis, they don't have a budget to do a lot of things right. Anyway, I'm sorry, what?
No, that's just a weird way to end it. I might go back to a regular chat. Oh, so here we go. Yeah. In the chat, James.
Jedi Knight, I had the same question, and I sorry, and I don't mean to say like oh, he is a black guy, so they must have been thinking this, but it felt that way in the moment. Jedi Knight says, was he supposed to be Jon Stewart or something? It felt like that's what they were doing. It felt like what is a character that has been a person who sort of looks like this character before in the comics? Let's just sort of say he was kind of Jon Stewart or something. That's what it feels like. Yeah, you're not the only person that had that thought.
James123 asks, Are you going to play the Avengers game?
Well, I should, because I bought it last weekend, and I just haven't put it in yet. Yeah, I haven't had time. So I'm hoping to start getting into that this weekend. Thanks for reminding me. I keep walking by my PS4 going, oh yeah, that's right. I have this game shrink wrapped. I spent $50 on. I haven't even put it in the machine yet. So yeah.
I've been playing in the mornings. You should voice chat me while we're playing it. I'm not that far in. I'm only a few levels in.
Well, and if we play it long enough, eventually we can play together and do some of the online stuff. But I want to play through the story before I do that. If you're playing it too, if we have time, why don't we plan on talking about it on the show at some point? Once we've played enough of it. I don't know if I'm going to stream any of it. I may. I'm probably not going to stream it while I'm figuring it out, because those end up being boring because I suck at video games, and so people have to watch me spend half an hour trying to get from, here to the bathroom or whatever. But
well, you can put on easy mode.
Oh, you think that makes a difference? Okay, all right.
No, yeah, I don't know how fast I'll get through it because I have no time to play it. I've only been waking up at 6 and playing. Sorry,
Tom, $2 super chat says his name was John Diggle, so I think so. Again, I don't think when they named him Diggle that they were thinking Jon Stewart, but at the end they were probably going, oh, his name's John. See, so and then Diggle's Dumb Ring writes Jon Stewart Diggle. They should have done that. They should have done the Rises thing, right? And you should retroactively you find out at the end that we didn't actually know his real name the whole time, or Stewart was his middle name. They should have done that. His middle name is Stewart, and we should have heard the ring. No, that's what they should have done, because that show's so stupid anyway. You might as well. That's what they should have done. They should have. I'm not even joking right now. The ring should have been like, Jon Stewart Diggle, you have lots of will. I'm gonna make you a Green Lantern, buddy. And then it goes on his ring. That's what it should have done.
Stewart's a cooler last name than Diggle. No offense to anyone in the audience that has a last name Diggle.
Well, no, they named him Diggle because of Andy Diggle, because of the comic writer. And then, which is weird because Andy Diggle didn't have a run on Green Arrow, if memory serves. He's not a Green Arrow guy, I don't think. But they named him John Diggle I guess just to not be crazy on the nose and just straight up name him after a comic writer. But then his brother's name is Andy Diggle. They actually did put Andy Diggle in the show, and very shortly after that, they name him because he's supposed to be dead. And then, of course, because no one can be dead or stay dead in that show. We find out later that he wasn't actually dead, and they actually cast him. So we do see Andy Diggle later, but yeah.
5590ERS, would you like to see the Architect in Matrix 4?
I'm going to be so disappointed if we don't, because there's no way that's good. And I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But the only thing I have to look forward to is another insane 10-minute exposition sequence from the Architect, and I want him to explain why there's a sequel. Like, I want the movie to open and for the Architect to just show up and look at the audience and just say like ergo 105 times and tell us like why the Matrix, the whole utopia that we got at the end of 3 actually didn't pan out, and that this is now the 7th iteration of the Matrix and we have gotten increasingly good at it. And I want him to open the movie with that. I don't even want it to be the Matrix code that opens the movie. I want it to just be like the Architect on screens, and he's just talking to us. He's just like, "Hello, you're watching the Matrix," and I just want him to talk at us for like 15 minutes.
You want him to turn a chair around like Captain America and be like, "So you're watching Matrix?"
So you're, yes, that's exactly right. And he does. He sits in a chair. It'd be perfect.
John Ty, which character do you like more, the Vision or Martian Manhunter?
Yeah, and those are characters that I can't help but connect up together too. Yeah, to parallel. I think for me it's Martian Manhunter, but I have not read enough stuff with Vision. And I love Vision in the movies, but like I've not had a lot of experiences with that character. So if I read more, I might have my mind changed. But I love Martian Manhunter a lot. So yeah, that's gotta be my answer.
Cool question. Thanks, John.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to do it unless they keep coming.
All right, cool. Well, folks, thanks a lot for watching the Captain Logan Show. Hope you had a good time. We certainly did. Like I said, really cool. I mean, like, yeah, the questions are always good, but tonight was really good. So thank you guys so much. We had a great time, and good show to go on just a week hiatus with. I think we'll come back in a week and do this again after the next episode of Marvel Mania. So next week, all week long, hopefully it works out. I'm planning on putting up Marvel Mania. Planning on putting up Ultimate Spider-Man videos, and then the Tuesday after that, DJ and I will be back with Guardians 2 on Marvel Mania, and then that Thursday, we're gonna do another episode of the Captain Logan Show. Coming up tomorrow is finally a new episode of Superhero Rewind. I will have, and it's a glorified podcast now, so it's just audio. Sometime in the very near future, I'm hoping to get the podcast end of that up and running again, so you'll also be able to listen to it in podcast places like iTunes and stuff. I haven't got that set up yet, but I'm working on it. I just haven't had time to finish it. So you don't have to necessarily use YouTube if you don't want to for that. They will be audio podcasts again, and I'm going to try to have the whole library up, which is why I'm not done with it, because I've gotten maybe a quarter of that set up, but I have to take the old videos and I have to make them audio files and I have to re-upload them, and so it takes time. But anyway, so tomorrow I'll have the video finally 7 years after the movie came out on Thor: The Dark World. Got that up for Patreon earlier in the week, and if you want early episodes of Superhero Rewind, as I'm starting to get back to that, I will have those up for you at least 48 hours or better before on Patreon at just that $2 tier. So anyway, everybody, thanks a bunch for watching, and we'll see you again in a couple weeks for more of this, but lots more stuff coming up on the channel for you in the coming days and weeks. I am Captain Logan, and that was DJ Martinez. Thanks, DJ.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
Appreciate you guys, and we will see you later. Bye.
But look around you and take a good look at all the local